Hi, folks. Yet another beautiful day in America where Democrats insist they're the victims while holding every lever of power like a toddler clinging to a stolen iPad, which obviously couldn't go much further than AOC, fresh off NBC, airing that clip where she says Senate Democrats look weak, as if she isn't the political equivalent of a fire alarm that won't stop screeching about problems she created. Kind of like Chris Murphy explaining that Americans just need to suffer a little pain so Democrats can save democracy, which is DC code for shuffle more power into Democrat pockets and don't ask any questions if you know any better.
So we don't want a shutdown, but the situation is unique. Donald Trump is trying to weaponize our compassion against us. This is how we lose democracies all over the world. When despots or would-be despots say, I'm going to hurt the people, use their pain as extortion to try to get you to give me more power to corrupt the nation. So there is not an easy path to saving the democracy. There is not a path that doesn't involve some pain. We will have to find unique ways, as the civil rights movement did, to mitigate the pain for people. But there's no simple, pain-free path to saving our democracy.
Have Democrats truly become the party of the retard? Like, seriously, are they capable of speaking in any language that isn't political word salad? These people are impossible. How are they this slow? How are they this incoherent? And why should we trust Democrats with anything? Every time they've been in power, they've hollowed out at whatever institution they touched. Just look at the media. Just look at the education system. Just look at colleges. Just look at California, Illinois, New York, especially New York City. We're about to see one of the biggest real-world examples of Democrat failure playing out right under this so-called Democrat socialism experiment that's going to gut that city. And that's exactly why Chris Murphy's comments matter, because when a sitting U.S. senator tells the public that they're going to have to experience some pain so Democrats can save democracy, in quotes, what he's admitting is that Democrats now see political power as something people must suffer for, not something earned through competence or results. This is the same pattern we've watched for years. Elite Democrats justify economic hardship, rising crime, failing schools, and collapsing cities by claiming it's all part of some noble struggle against these imaginary despots. It's a rhetorical trick that shifts blame away from their own governance and onto the people resisting their agenda. Murphy's framing flips reality on his head. He warns about despots weaponizing pain while ignoring the fact that Democrat-run cities are the places where ordinary Americans are already dealing with the fallout of their bad policies. His worldview only makes sense inside a political class insulated from the consequences of its decisions. And it shows exactly where the modern left is culturally, a movement so wrapped up in moral theater that it can rationalize almost any level of public suffering as long as it's done in the name of saving democracy. It's the same mindset that captures our universities like the UCLAs of the world, our media like the ABCs, NBCs of the world, Hollywood, and now entire states. And it leaves regular Americans paying the price for other people's ideological retardation. And the biggest alcohol baby of them all is Adam Schiff, who recently said some really strange statements considering his last 10 years in government and everything he's done.
I listen in the Judiciary Committee to a lot of my colleagues across the aisle rail with just the most righteous indignation about the horrible weaponization of the Justice Department under that well-known partisan Merrick Garland.
Huh? Like
And
you did?
It is so fanciful as to be absurd, but they speak it with what appears to be total conviction.
Huh? Like you're
And I
doing
don't know,
now?
maybe they're better actors than they used to be, or maybe they've so internalized the talking points that they persuaded themselves.
So what you're telling me is that Adam Schiff either thinks none of us were alive between 2021 and 2024, that we've all been neuralized by Men in Black, or that we're collectively too forgetful to recall that weaponizing the DOJ and Congress against Trump was literally his day-to-day job. Adam Schiff carved out his entire public identity doing exactly what he now pretends is absurd. He can't point to a single accomplishment outside of being the face of these Trump investigations, these Trump leaks, and political prosecutions aimed at squarely one man. This is someone who made the McCarthy era look like amateur hour compared to the years he spent feeding an entire media ecosystem with narratives that later collapsed under even the slightest level of scrutiny. And now he's out here with a straight face acting as if Merrick Garland's GOJ wasn't politically aligned, as if none of us watched parents get tagged as domestic terrorist threats, pro-lifers arrested at dawn, or political opponents indicted in synchronized waves. Does he think we're stupid? This level of shamelessness is staggering. And look, I'll give the man the benefit of the doubt. He's not technically lying. He's just profoundly dishonest. That's his whole brand. He relies on a media environment that straight up protects him, on institutions that echo everything he says, and on voters who are supposed to forget everything they lived through. Schiff's comment isn't just hypocrisy. It's a window into this Democrat political class that believes narratives matter more than your actual memory, and that if Democrats repeat their rewriting of history loudly enough, eventually reality will comply.
That attitude that if you can make a president or a party unsuccessful, no matter what damage it might do to the country, because it's good politics, we have to get past that ruinous idea. We have to figure out a way to stop viewing each other as our enemy. And that solution will come when we figure out how to be better consumers of information again, how to determine what's true and what's not true, how to stop rewarding advertising behemoths for dividing us the way they do.
Oh, they are scared, folks. Democrats are terrified, and you can see it plain as day. The entire party is suddenly backpedaling in unison, trying to present themselves as moderate. After spending the last decade and a half sprinting as far left as humanly possible, they're scrambling to rebrand themselves as something separate from the Mamdanis and the activist DSA fringe that's been steering the ship into the literal icebergs, because the so-called moderates finally realize that going along with every petty, spite-driven power grab from the Democrats has led them straight into a political dead end. And this isn't just Adam Schiff delivering this new sermon about not making presidents unsuccessful or not viewing each other as enemies. It's happening across the party. You can see Democrats walking back positions they held with religious intensity just a few years or maybe some months ago. And yes, it's all coordinated. They see the numbers. They see Americans, especially independents, rejecting their party in droves. They see their tactics blowing up in their faces, their messaging collapsing around the country, and the consequences of letting the Democrat Socialists of America hollow out their base from within. Schiff's speech isn't a moral epiphany, by the way. It's just a survival instinct. It's the moment when a party that spent years weaponizing institutions suddenly realizes they might be held to the same standard they created themselves. You see, they know the country is shifting, and unless they reinvent themselves now, it's game over for a generation. And honestly, it should be. And speaking of the DSA devil in a dress, AOC herself has recently been coming after Democrats for ending the shutdown. Apparently, she doesn't care about families that much. She cares more about leverage.
The lesson that they're learning is that Democrats are weak, and that next time we just need to hurt working people and working Americans more to get them to fold. And I don't want them to learn that lesson.
Democrats hate you, folks. They absolutely hate you with a passion, and they've shown it time and time again. Using your pain not as something to fix, but as a political currency, they can cash in to divide, conquer, and gather as much power as possible at your expense. They don't care about you. They're enthralled by how your struggle can be weaponized to justify giving themselves more control over your life. And that's exactly what we're seeing with AOC here. She's upset that Senate Democrats ended the shutdown because, in her worldview, the real problem isn't government dysfunction. It's that working Americans didn't suffer enough to produce the political pressure she wanted so she could get what she wants out of the deal. This language exposes a deeper cultural shift on the Democrat side, a belief that public hardship is not only acceptable but strategically useful to them, that destabilization is a legitimate political tool, and that the working class exists mostly as a rhetorical stage prop for their ideological theater. It reflects a party fractured between activists demanding escalation and leadership terrified of the electoral consequences of too much chaos. You see, when AOC frames ending a shutdown as weakness, it shows how far some parts of the Democrat Party have drifted from governance toward permanent agitation. It reveals a movement that has lost the ability to persuade, lost the trust of working people, and now treats disruption as its primary political resource because the only thing they still know how to do is manufacture crisis and hope voters blame somebody else. You know, I feel like the ending of these videos has been exactly the same for weeks and a few months now. It always ends with me repeating this age-old mantra that Democrats hate you. And they hate you, folks. It's become a thing at this point. Every single video, every single clip, we come back to the same realization. These people despise you. They hate you profoundly. And I don't think it's a secret anymore. I don't think anyone can watch what they say and do and come away with a different conclusion. They see you as a lower form of life, someone who exists purely to serve them, to make their careers possible, to absorb the fallout of their failures while they collect more power at your expense. And folks, it goes without saying that we need a generation of politicians and leaders who are actually interested in serving you, not serving themselves, or pretending that you exist to serve them. Instead, what we have going on right here on the Democrat side is an entire class of power-hungry, self-serving ideologues, people like AOC, who play revolution while living off the institutions they claim to fight. So the real question becomes, how much longer are we willing to let a political class treat us like objects in their ideological experiment? How much longer do we accept narratives built on contempt? And at what point do ordinary Americans finally decide they deserve leaders who don't view them as pawns, but as a people worth fighting for? You tell me what you think in the comments down below. Hope you have a terrific day. Peace.